Hello, welcome to my shed and welcome to my channel. Now this particular kit here, along with another tank kit, was sent to me by one of my subscribers, Martin Dare. We were having a chat one evening and he offered to send me a couple of kits, and I was totally oblivious as to what they were, but when they came through the post I was really knocked out by them. I tend to build 1/35th scale tanks. I've only ever built Tamiya kits so far, so I'm looking forward to doing this HobbyBoss. I've built some HobbyBoss planes in the past and I found them okay actually. They're not a bad little kit to put together. They have their issues, but they're okay. So I earmarked this one for a video build, and the other one I'm sort of building off camera, and I'm about halfway through that one. So it's thanks to Martin for sending this these kits. Thanks very much. Yeah, so my usual procedure with this will be I'll be showing you the contents of the actual box, and then I should be going off camera making a sub-assembly, bring it back onto camera, having a chat about it, explaining any problems I had with it, and then I should be following that on through with some footage of me spraying and perhaps some assembly. I don't know yet, but that's my usual procedure. So what I tend to do now is set my camera up and we'll take a look inside the box and see what we've got. I'm interested to see what's in this because, to be perfectly honest, I've yet to take a lid off of it, so it's all going to be new to me. So I'll see you in a minute. Right, so what we've got is a HobbyBoss 1/35th scale M26 Pershing heavy tank. Nice bit of artwork on the front. It's a big old box as well. Right, so it looks like there is only one scheme, and it's a fairly straightforward scheme by the looks of it as well. It's not a camouflaged fare, so that looks pretty straightforward. There's never a great deal of decals to apply on a tank, and we've got a list of the colours here. Unfortunately, I found this before with HobbyBoss, they don't give you a reference number for the model air paints. That's just a model colour range, but I'm sure I've got the correct paints for this. So that's that. Instructions. Yeah. Feels a bit cheap and nasty. Yeah. I think they've used a cheap paper there, and it looks like there's no staple in it. That's unusual, isn't it? Is that an error at the factory, or is that supposed to be like that? I'll see how I get on with that. There might be a reason why they've left the staples out. Anyway, yeah, instructions aren't. I mean, they're quite sharp. But yeah. The quality of the paper, and it just feels, yeah, that's rather odd. That there we've got the sprues. So we've got 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, looks like there's 10 plus the tracks. Yeah, we'll have to see how we get on with that. Right, yeah, HobbyBoss, it looks like we've got some clear parts here, because that's what they normally wrap these up in, I think. Are they? No, I don't know why that's been covered. If there's any clear parts in HobbyBoss kit, they tend to wrap it around with some foam, but that's just a standard sprue there. Bit out of shape. See, this is the sort of thing you don't get with Tamiya. If you pick a sprue up from a Tamiya kit, it feels solid and there's no flex in it. When you go down the route of these lesser makes, this is what you're going to get, and there's always a risk that the moulding is bent as well. But I think that'll be alright. It might well be the way it's been stacked, because I don't know how old this kit is. I've got a feeling that Martin might have not purchased this brand new. He might have come across this in a charity shop or something. I don't know. I meant to have asked him. That's the upper hull. turret. There's a bit of flash on it, but sometimes I find if you leave a bit of flash on these tanks, when you go to weather it, the weathering picks up on it. So I'm not all that bothered about any sort of unsightly flash. I'm the same when I go to spray it. I'm not bothered about runs, because again, weathering powders can pick up on runs. Yeah, looks okay. The Tamiya kits I've bought in the past have all been kits that you could motorise. They all stem from the 1970s. Obviously these kits never offered a bloody motor setup on them, so I'm expecting the sort of lower hull and the upper hull to join without any gaps, because the Tamiya kits, the old Tamiya kits, are a bit gappy because they were designed for the upper part to be removed to change the batteries. So I'll be intrigued to know how that goes together there. Again, they put some protective sponge around the small parts. I mean, it's a nice little touch. Can't knock it. Yeah, I think that first sprue I picked up might well have been bent. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Let's have a look at these. Yeah, they've all got a bend in them. Like I say, it could be done in the packaging, or it could have come out in the mould like it. Yeah, well, first hand looks alright. Don't look like there's anything untowards there. Seems to be a few parts. Looks like there's a few more parts than me standard Tamiya builds in the past. A set of wheels. Let's just detail that. I think there's a turret. If anything bends, it's the it's the gun barrel. Sorry, I've called it a turret. It's the gun barrels. Sod to straighten up if they've been bent in the box. And a set of tracks attached to a sprue. That looks very similar to a Tamiya setup there, with the location pins going into the location holes the other end. Yeah, they look quite nice, those tracks. Decals, I'm going to take them out, but there ain't a great deal there by the looks of it. And HobbyBoss have a habit of putting these little photo etch parts in, which are a nice little touch, but I never bother with them because I find them, I don't know, I just don't get on with them. To me, it's taking it to another level, and I'm not really interested in that. So I mean, if there's if these are actually required rather than a plastic for kit, plastic molding on a sprue, then naturally I'll use these. But yeah, nice touch nonetheless. So there we go. Right, let's go and assemble the first sub-assembly, and I'll be back with you to have a chat about it. So I'll see you in a minute. Right, let's crack on with it then. Now, I'll be talking in the past tense here because what I'm about to show you here, I've actually made and primed and painted. It's not quite finished yet. Until it gets glued to the other parts, I shall be doing some sort of finer detail on it. So first of all, let's talk about these instructions. I don't know why HobbyBoss have decided to incorporate these plans in like a fold out concept. I don't know what they're trying to gain from it, but I'm not saying I don't like it, but personally I think they're better off sticking a couple of staples in it and creating a booklet. But yeah, and also I found that the instructions aren't all that well detailed, are there? They could do with some areas where they could do with blowing the actual parts up that need to be assembled, because it's difficult to see their orientation. So to start with, the plans, yeah, as I said in the box review, it's also, I think this is made of what they call Bible paper, which is the cheapest paper you can get. So the instructions are a little bit to be desired. But anyway, I've cracked on with it, and first stage is to assemble all the wheels. There's quite a few to assemble. There's 14 of these and 10 of these, and there's a pair of the actual drive wheels as well. Normally on a Tamiya kit you have polycaps which are inserted in the wheels. That enables you to sort of pull them on and off, and of course they were for motorized versions, but this is just literally the wheels being glued together. So there's no movement there whatsoever. So they were done. We come to the lower hull now. This piece here, again, this is a bit ambiguous. It's saying drop it down there, but it's not telling you exactly where it's going to go, because this obviously can slide backwards and forwards. So all I've done is made a point of pushing it so it's sat in the corner of that molding there, and it's in the right place, fortunately. But again, you know, they could do with elaborating on that. This was something I'd not usually do on a tank build, and that's the suspension parts are separate. Again, they're only glued to these location pins, and they were pretty much straightforward actually. And then we have the internal uprights here that the actual axles get glued to. This again just dropped down, and they naturally found their own location. There was nothing ambiguous about that. It was pretty straightforward where that had to sit. Right, now we come to the suspension arms and the torsion bars. Now the torsion bars are these axles. Now the idea of these torsion bars is that you glue these arms to the end of the actual axle, and then you push it through and you glue it to this end here, and that enables then this to sort of move up and down. So in other words, the axles are sort of twisting like this. I decided to glue mine in position, which actually meant blocking this up, and when applying the glue to these, they had to be ensured that they're all sitting at the right level, because there's movement with them. You had to make sure that they were at the lowest level. So I just went along with a cocktail stick, made a point of pushing them on, dropping them down, laying some glue on. While the glue was drying, just pick it up and just iron it up to see if they were in line, and that was all right. So really, to be honest, these torsion bar axles, if I was to build this again and didn't want this torsion bar effect, I'll probably leave these out. They're probably not needed, because these actually get glued to another surface. So that's that. And then we come to the actual fitting, as I've just discussed. It's just a matter of putting them on the end of the torsion bars here. That was something I just spoke about. So 2, 3. Yeah, suspension parts. These actually go into the upper part of the suspension, and they actually move up and down. So whatever you do, don't glue these. So it was a case of locating these first, and then pushing these inside and mating them up to the area where they need to be attached to on the arms. It was a matter of trial and error, and a point of getting a pair of pliers actually, because they're quite tight in there, the movement. And once these were in position, it was a matter of getting a pair of pliers and just drawing them down to meet up with these. So that was pretty much straightforward. Excuse me. And we come to the fitting of the wheels. These I've used super glue on. They just pushed on, and straightforward enough. There's nothing really anything untowards there really. Again, it's always worth picking it up, putting your line of eye down them to make sure that they're all sort of pushed on, and the to where they're supposed to be. You know, you haven't got one that's protruding out slightly, so cast your eye down it, and if they look straight, they're fine. Got the drive wheel here. Again, this I haven't glued because I find that if I leave these loose, it helps getting the tracks on. So these were a push fit on there anyway, so they're not loose, but they will turn. Right, it's saying here about the tracks. Now the tracks is something that I'll leave right to the end, so I'm going to ignore the tracks for the time being. Now we come to the motor. Now inside here you can build an actual motor at the engine compartment, and it's a really nice touch, but I intend to build this with the hatches closed. So there's a pointless exercise in making this engine up if it's going to be covered at the end of the day. But if you wanted to build this with the hatches open, you know, it's a nice little addition to the kit. But I'm not prepared to spend time, money, and sort of paint and glue putting that together just for it to be hidden. So 5, 6 and 7 here I haven't bothered to do. The bulkhead I've put in place because I always find bulkheads are best glued in, so I've actually glued that bulkhead in there, and this is showing the radiators and things. Yeah, some more internal. See, there's the engine. Quite a nice little touch. And yeah, that's that. What's this down here? Oh, yeah, this is the front of the hang on a minute, my brush has decided to disappear. This is the front panel that goes on here. So this is required parts to be glued to it. There are areas in this kit where they're asking you to drill holes out. I don't know why they haven't produced them at the mold process, but I find that a bit silly really, having to make holes to put part components on. Some of them weren't just holes, some of them were like rectangular pieces of plastic. Yeah, I don't know what their idea of that was. A bit silly really. And that's it, folks, for the lower hole. So here she is. I've used a medium olive on this. You'll probably find there's a load of super glue there, unfortunately that ran down, but like I've said before, when I build tank builds, I'm not bothered about that, because when I do the weathering, the powders pick up on it and it gives the impression of a lump of mud. It's not brilliant, it's not something I'm proud of, but it can stay there. I ain't going to worry about taking it off. So the wheels have been treated to some brush painting, the tyres here with a matte black, and the rollers up here as well. Yeah, basically I quite enjoyed putting that together. That was quite a nice little sub-assembly. Yeah. So yeah, there we are with it. So the next stage is to do the upper hull, which I will go off camera and do. In the meantime, I'm going to show you some footage of me priming this, top coating it, and also some hairy stick work painting the wheels. I'm not going to do too much footage on it because it can be a bit boring showing you the actual priming of all the parts, so it's a bit of a condensed sort of footage. So in the meantime, watch that, and then I'll be back with the other part of the sub-assembly. So I'll see you then. Right, so here we have the upper hull, and it's showing here to glue the side skirts on, which weren't a problem actually. They were quite a nice fit. I was a bit worried that they'd be a little bit misshapen because they're very, very thin plastic, but I was well chuffed by the way that they went on. They're actually showing here the front part of the what I call the track guard. Now they suggested to attach the tracks prior to doing this second sub-assembly. I've decided to leave the tracks off, so I might leave, well I have left these off in case there's a problem getting the tracks on. So these will be sort of painted and glued right at the end. So that was pretty straightforward. I've used Tamiya ultra thin glue on all that because of it being sort of structural in things, and I've used super glue on the details down here. These are like the boxies. I'm assuming they're tool boxies. There's 2 large ones and 2 small ones that fit along here. Again, they were pretty straightforward. The fit wasn't great on the lids. I had to do a bit of fettling, but other than that they were alright. Yeah, this is where I'm getting confused now with this fold out thing. Where am I? Hang on, I need the other bit. Where's the other bit? Bloody nuisance. Right, yeah. Now you know what I mean about these plans. So it's showing you how to glue the lids onto the bases. Like I said, I had to do a bit of fettling there to get them to fit properly. This gun was fitted, that seemed to fit okay, didn't have any trouble with that. These little pieces here were sort of little sub-assemblies that I had to make up here. I had to make 5 of them. They were okay. This is where there was areas where I had to sort of create cavities to attach these small parts. Again, I don't know why they can't make them at the factory. Weird, strange. These 2 parts, they fitted lovely, didn't have any trouble with them. And here we come to the main details up here. All this here, front headlamps on tanks are a bugbear for me. Unfortunately, one of them broke, and it broke while I was removing it from the sprue. So I've ended up only fitting 1 headlamp, and that's not unusual for me because headlamps in tanks I just don't get on with. They either end up breaking come the end of the build or something, so that's a usual thing for me. But these small little items, again, there was holes that had to be drilled. There weren't many, but there was enough to you know, find it a bit annoying really. Yeah, it's just basically detailing. I've super glued all these because they're not structural, and I think I managed to fit everything at the go. Yeah, these hatches here, again I had to fettle these. They were a little bit oversized, and it just meant getting me sharp knife and just scraping away some excess material on the ends, and then they dropped straight in, and they were a lovely fit, didn't have any trouble with that. And then again, there's some more sort of covers here that had to be added right to the back of the hull. Not a lot to talk about, to be honest. It's just a matter of doing all the detail, and of course now it's ready to be joined, but I'm a long way off that yet at the moment. What we will do is do this here, show you this. This is where all the toolboxes and that have been fitted. I've used ultra thin on that, and this is where they're showing you now to put the front track guard on, which is something I'll be doing later on. And that's it, folks. With that, was pretty straightforward and short and sweet, wasn't it? This is what I've done. There ain't a lot to talk about, to be honest. Everything seemed to go on where it's supposed to have, and all in all it's all right. Now I have come across a guy who's built one of these, and he was saying that the turret wouldn't fit inside there and he had to remove some material. So I've tried the turret, and the turret, to be honest, is a bit loose. There's a bit of lateral movement on it, which ain't too clever. so I might end up having to glue it on there rather than have it you know, being able to revolve. But there we are, that's the upper hull done, and not a great deal of problems with it. Yeah, all right, that was. So talking of the turret, I shall show you some clips of me spraying this again, and then I'll be back with the turret and we'll have a chat about that. So I'll see you then. Right, so here we are with the turret. Now this sub-assembly here wasn't a joy to put together at all. I wasn't too impressed by the quality of the detail. I wasn't impressed by the locations. Nothing seemed to be self-supporting. It was all a bit willy-nilly, to be honest. I've made the gun up, but unfortunately I should have known really, it's actually snapped off the turret. The gun hasn't broken, it's just the location, so I'm going to end up gluing that right at the end. So the gun's been left off, and there was various places here where I've had to elongate these fixing points because they were obviously not open, and there's a couple of areas where I had to run a drill down. Now why HobbyBoss again insist on creating these cavities which are visible from the inside of the molding, but they haven't actually molded them open. I'm bewildered by it. I really don't know what they're thinking of. The parts were not self-supporting. I've had to go back to using my super glue, so everything's a little bit brittle on there. I've got to be very careful handling it. All in all, yeah, it wasn't a very good enjoyable exercise that doing that. Now I did check to make sure that this fitted the upper hull, and it does, because I did notice that somebody on YouTube said that their turret was tight, but I found that the turret is okay on the upper hull, so although it is a little bit slack. Now these tracks that are supposed to have been glued on the side of this turret, I had an endless trouble with this. This isn't really elaborating on which way the mouldings are supposed to be placed, and I copied what I thought was right. It turned out it wasn't right, and it just didn't look right glued on the turret. I removed it, and I've ended up using a bit of plastic molding that was on the sprue that was left for the engine build. So I've used something from that sprue to sort of cover up these location points. It gives the impression it's a rack for the actual tracks here, but in fact it's not, but I had to use something. The turret, yeah. This was an abomination, this. I glued these two halves together. Yes, they were okay. I had a little bit of fettling to do because the seam on the top half of the barrel was leveled. The one underneath was slightly proud, so I've had to clean that up. The end of the barrel here, this is two separate parts. This part is supposed to have wrapped around there, which it duly did so, and this here is supposed to meet up with it, but it wouldn't fit because this plastic area here wasn't removed. I don't really understand what they were doing. Yeah, I thought it was me, but I just could not get those two to join together once that was on that barrel. So I ended up removing the plastic there, which then allowed it to meet up, and it was fine. But yeah, not very good at all. And this here, I had trouble with this as well. It's all a bit negative, this actually. It's very, very poor. They're not giving you an idea of where these are supposed to be located. Looking back on it, I should have glued these parts here onto the turret as I assembled them, but I didn't. I done it as a separate sub-assembly, and then when I went to fit it, it wasn't a very good fit at all. This located on here, okay, round here, but there was a gap where this was supposed to be level with this molding here. I just couldn't see how that you could do that. Yeah, all in all, I ended up having to fill a gap either side of there. Yeah, it just wasn't, you know, the instructions are bloody crap, to be honest. And like I say, if I ever went to build another one of these, I would start by gluing that to that and building it against the turret. That way you know that you've got the right angles, so that it fits and fits properly. So yeah, here they've got it showing going to the hull. Like I say, mine's okay. So yeah, not a very enjoyable build that there. It's a typical HobbyBoss kit. I find it with their aircraft. I find that when I put their fuselages together and the wings together, they're absolutely lovely. And then it starts to go downhill, and I'm finding that with this tank kit. So this is where we are with it. As you can see, the guns broke off there. The guns, yeah, I've got it. I'm going to put that on right at the end. But you can see here where I've had to fill it in, because this angle here wasn't the right angle for it to meet on here. You know, the gun barrel's sticking up quite high as well, and I don't know whether that's right. Yeah, all in all, the parts have been successfully glued. I've primed it and given it a coat of paint. There's that piece I've taken off the sprue that has the engine parts on it, just to hide the locations. Yeah, you know, that area ain't gonna last. I know it ain't. There you go, it's broke. Yeah, so next stage is I'm going to assemble this with the other two parts, obviously the lower hull and this upper part, and then I shall then apply the decals, and then I shall do some detailing. I've got some brush work to do on the details that are on the tank, and then I shall be back on camera with all that done, ready to give it a wash and some weathering, which is something I'll show you me doing. So yeah, all in all, yeah, that turret, wasn't too impressed with it. Right, there she is, folks. Now I've had to crack on with this because I was losing my mojo. I've had a bit of a problem with it. Let's go back to when it was in 3 parts. The parts actually went together okay. I was quite surprised at the nice fit. It was a very tight fit, but that might have been due to the fact that I painted it before I assembled it, and the thickness of the paint was making it a little bit tight, but it fitted quite well. I was impressed by the actual fit. And I've added the front track guards here that were left off originally. The turret fitted okay, which I knew anyway. So that particular sub-assembly there, that area of the build was okay. I then went on to apply the decals, which is something that I don't normally have trouble with, and I didn't with these really. I've never rated HobbyBoss's decals. I always find them a bit delicate, but on this they seem to be okay, and there weren't very many of them anyway. Now the problems I had was with the tracks. I laid down a couple of coats of primer on those tracks to then paint them brown, and I found the paint was beading, and it took me a while to sort of build up a decent layer of paint so I could apply the brown. But even now, if you bend those tracks quite severely, the actual paint just chips off. So those tracks do not like my paint for some reason. There's a possibility that it could be like remnants of a silicone release agent on them. I don't know, but I personally think the rubber's not all that user friendly, to be honest. They actually went onto the tank okay. I didn't have any trouble with them. While I was doing it, I ended up breaking a couple of aerials here, which is only natural. It always happens to me, but it's a bit like the headlights. I've only got one headlight on it. But yeah, all in all, it started off very promising, and like a lot of HobbyBoss kits I bought and made, particularly in the aircraft, I do find that they start off all right and they tend to deteriorate, which is a shame really. But I'm happy with the way that it's turned out. I don't think it's that bad really. If I was to build a tank, a HobbyBoss tank like this again, and I didn't want to weather it, I'd have a few concerns, because trying to build a tank and not weather it, you got to make sure that all the parts go together where they should do, and you shouldn't get any runs in things, and I think I'd find it very difficult. So this weathering is actually hiding quite a lot of sort of little tiny defects, but I'm not bothered about it. It was a little project. I've learned from it. I won't be buying any HobbyBoss tank kits. In the meantime, I've got a HobbyBoss plane kit to put together, funny enough. So that video will be forthcoming, and I've got some other projects in the pipeline. So I hope to see you soon, and thanks for watching the video. Those of you that have stuck with it all the way through, thanks very much. I know not everybody does it. They tend to skip, but there you go. So I'll see you soon. Bye.